with extreme prejudice. Famous lines from Captain Willard himself. Those of you who have seen the film, you know exactly what I'm referring to. We're talking about 1979's Apocalypse Now. Now, those of you new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. This is a new segment on the channel here, trying to freshen things up a bit. Movies on the run, and this is the first episode of, I'm sure, will be many. So today we want to talk about Apocalypse Now. Now I'll give you a brief rundown of the film. Apocalypse Now is a 1979 American epic war film directed, produced, and co-written by Francis Ford Coppola. It stars Marlon Brando, Robert Duvall, Martin Sheen, Lawrence Fishburne, Harrison Ford, Dennis Hopper, and a host of others. Screenplay co-written by Coppola and John Milius. The setting was based on the 1899 novel A Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad. The setting of the film was changed from the late 19th century Congo to the Vietnam War. The film follows a river journey from South Vietnam into Cambodia undertaken by Captain Benjamin L. Willard, a character based on Conrad's Marlowe and played by Sheen, who is on a secret mission to assassinate Colonel Kurtz, played by Marlon Brando, who is a renegade Army Special Forces officer accused of murder and who is presumed insane. Now, I'm not going to go too scripted in on this. I want to sort of do it off the cusp, ad-lib it if you will. Again, I apologize if I'm all over the map on this. I'll try my best to stay the course. Now, without giving away too many spoilers, Captain Willard, he's the captain of on the army base there. I don't know what the terminology is. He's the captain, and he's in his bunk, sort of laying low. He probably just came back from Vietnam, and he's taking a break, and he's all strung out. He's drinking, he's boozing. He's not in the right state of mind at the beginning of the film. He gets completely wasted, and then the next morning, a couple of guys come up to his bunk, knock on his door, and they tell Captain Willard that he needs to report to the main office, and Willard's thinking he did something wrong, and they're telling him no, there's something else that has come up. So Willard, at the beginning of the film, it's really cool, the narration in the film, again, Willard is played by Martin Sheen. A lot of it is third person, so Captain Willard's talking to you in the movie, but he's not actually talking in the movie, if that makes sense. So it's really cool. And at the beginning of the movie, Willard's basically saying, when I was home, all I could think about was being in the jungle. And when I was in the jungle, all I could think about was being home. So really cool dialogue. And, basically they pick up Captain Willard, bring him to the main office, and they tell him there's basically a rogue renegade here, Colonel Kurtz, who basically split from the whole fucking program. And he used to be a decorated Army vet, top of his class, immaculate dossier, no blemishes on his record. And this guy, again, he splits from the whole fucking program, and he goes down this Cambodian river, and he basically holds up camp with this whole colony of, basically people that are there worshiping him. He's gone completely AWOL, completely insane. So they've asked Captain Willard to go down this river in a boat and kill with extreme prejudice. So Willard's 100% on board. He gathers up a crew of young little rogue renegades with one foot in their grave, as they say in the movie, younger guys that have enlisted in the army, and they work their way down this river, and it's an incredible story. I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say This isn't your average war movie. Yes, this does take place during the Vietnam War, but this film, again, has a twist on it that's based on the novel Heart of Darkness. It's not necessarily about the Vietnam War. It's about Willard on this mission to go down this river to find Kurtz, find out what drove him mad, learn a little bit more about himself on the way, and get to know Kurtz as well. So it's an incredible story. And a few other things I want to talk about with this movie. Francis Ford Coppola, for those of you who don't know who he is, he's one of the most famous directors of all time. He was very famous around this time for the Godfather films. Hot off the Godfather films, he really wanted to make Apocalypse Now. And the movie companies didn't have his back on this project. It came to a point where Francis Ford Coppola had to bankroll this film himself. He had to take basically all of his earnings, including what he made from The Godfather. He basically bankrupted himself to make this movie. And at first, he had Harvey Keitel on board to play as Captain Willard, and then Keitel dropped out for some unknown reason. It could have been due to budget constraints. And they picked up Sheen. And I think they did an excellent choice going with Sheen on this movie. And basically, the cinematography in this film, you will never see anything like this ever again. You will never see it. In today's climate, there's no way you could pull it off. Everything is 100% legit in this movie. There's no CGI. You gotta remember, this is 1979. There's a scene where like a helicopter lifts up a cow in the air, and you can hear the cow screaming. Grenades are going off, gun blasts, all kinds of stuff. Like, it's just so realistic. It's such an accurate depiction of the Vietnam War. And the thing is you have to remember, this film came out, it's probably the very first film to ever depict the Vietnam War, because at this point, the world was still just kind of getting over the Vietnam War. So a lot of people weren't ready for this film. And in actual fact, when this film came out, it was kind of a bomb. It didn't really take off the way they had anticipated it, and it was only years later that it picked up a cult following, and now it's just, obviously, the rest is history. But, like I said, the cinematography in this film is incredible. The music is incredible. There's a couple of songs from the band The Doors, which is a group that, again, a lot of their songs are appropriate for this time in the Vietnam. So, incredible story, just an ensemble cast of actors. When they picked up Dennis Hopper for this role, he was in a really weird state in his career. He was all drugged out and drunk, and when they brought him onto the set, they basically had to keep him all boozed up so he could get through the movie and play his part. Same with Brando as well. At this point, Marlon Brando, he had obviously gained quite a bit of weight. But like I said, if you guys have not seen this movie, you owe it to yourself to check it out. The story is something to marvel at. And the only disappointing thing I can say about this film is it's such an amazing body of work that when you're done watching a film like this, it unfortunately sets this ridiculous expectation in your head. Every time you see another movie, you're always trying to hold its feet to the flame. You're always trying to compare it to this. Like, I know a couple of years ago there was a movie that came out, Dunkirk. Not a bad movie. But all I could think about while I was watching it was comparing it to this movie. I'm just looking at the set pieces. I'm looking at certain things within the movie. And one thing I can't stand is CGI. I cannot stand it for the life of me. And that's why I appreciate a film like this. Shot in 78mm. It looks fantastic. If you watched this film and nobody told you it was shot in 78 or 79, you wouldn't even know it. It looks like it was shot today. That's how good it looks. It's a longer movie. It's not this quick fix, an hour and 45 minutes and walk out the movie theater. It is a longer movie. And there's also it's called Apocalypse Now Redux. Came out in 2001. And Francis Ford Coppola, he added in like an extra hour of footage that he left off the cutting room floor at the time of the original cut, and it introduces a scene where they stumble upon this French colony on this island in the middle of Cambodia, and it's just incredible. Some people don't like the Redux version of this film. They think it's too bloated. Others appreciate every little extra nuance that they can get their hands on with this film. I prefer the Redux version. Now, interestingly enough, Francis Ford Coppola, he's been in exile for years. He's basically retired, and can't blame the guy. He's in his 70s. He's got a successful winemaking business. You can pick up a bottle of his wine at your local liquor store. It's one of the best-selling wines in all of North America. They brought him out of exile to do a new recut, a new cut of this film last year, and it's called Apocalypse Now, the final cut. And it was shot. They sort of brought up the colors, digitalized it. It's now in 4K Blu-ray. They had released it in select theaters last year, and you could go and check it out on a 78 millimeter reel-to-reel film. It would have been incredible to see. I wanted to go check it out in Toronto, but I just had too much on the go. So yeah, if you're in the market for this movie, you can certainly scoop it up on the new Blu-ray, the final cut. But I recommend, you could get this on Blu-ray as well, or the old DVD. This is the full dossier, the complete dossier. And, it comes with, obviously, the original cut, and it comes with the Redux as well. So you can get this pretty cheap. Also as well, I've got the original Redux from 2001 on VHS. If you get the Blu-ray, it comes with a documentary called Hearts of Darkness, which was shot by Coppola's wife, and it basically documents the tumultuous, what they went through to make this movie. It's a great companion piece to the movie. Hearts of Darkness is so incredible. They show, again, everything I talked about with Marlon Brando, Dennis Hopper, the whole thing, trying to keep the crew together to shoot this film. It was a wild journey. I think it took a couple of years for them to film this movie. So like I said, a young Harrison Ford there. It's just, like I said, I can't stop gushing about it. I had to rewatch it again last night. I watch it every so often. And that's what sort of sparked me to do this video. So like I said, I don't want to give too much away, and again, I don't want to go all over the map with this, but just don't be turned off by the fact that it's a war movie. It's much more than that. It's a story about, like I said, one man going down the river in search for another guy who has absolutely lost his mind. And like I said, this movie kind of spearheaded a movement where there was a lot of other movies that came out shortly thereafter about the Vietnam War. We had The Deer Hunter, Michael Cimino's The Deer Hunter, that came out shortly thereafter. And then we had, obviously, Platoon, starring Charlie Sheen, Martin Sheen's son, Hamburger Hill, Full Metal Jacket. The list goes on. So, like I said, it's a real incredible body of work. I highly recommend it. It's in my top 5 films of all time. You'll never see another war film like this. It will blow your mind. So give it a chance. Enter the heart of darkness. Take yourself down that journey, down that river, and enjoy what this movie has to offer. So have you guys seen this movie before? Let me know in the comments below. Does this film hold strong, relevance in your heart? Have you seen it before? Have you not seen it before? Let me know in the comments below. So I'm going to leave it at that, guys. As always, thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your movies.